What's up, man? We got Spider Loc, the most eastiest.
He is I.
How you doing today, Spider?
I'm blessed in yourself.
We doing well, man. We really appreciate you coming by Urban City TV today, man.
Oh man, invitations like these, man, are to be appreciated. Our appreciation is all mine.
Right on, man. So we gonna get right into it. So I want to kind of get the background on Spider Loc. Why don't you tell our fans how you came about in this hip hop game and just the evolution of Spider Loc?
Well, Spider Loc as a moniker, as a name, started in the G Unit phase. So to get the background on Spider, we got to go a little bit before Spider Loc. Hip hop wise, I got out of prison in 1999 for the second time. And during that time in prison, I had purposed in my mind that that was my last time going for bullshit. And when I got out, I was gonna do all I can to try to find my way in the rap game. The way chance had it, my first opportunity to actually be involved in the rap game, as we would call it, when I can go into a store and see my name on the CD, was on Cam from Watts, Cam with a K, the Camnesia Project he put out early 2000 through J Core Hard Time Records, because Wino, from what I know, he from the hood, and he was producing the album. So from dealing with the homie Wino and being over there in his studio in Harbor City on a regular basis, I was able to be around Cam and got an opportunity to be on his album. And it was kind of like a 4-in-1, because on that record I was able to record with not only Yuck Mouth, but it was Drace to the Gangster and J.O. Felony and Cam all on one record. So I had an introduction into what we consider the West Coast scene with like 4 heavy hitters. Yeah, and then if you want me to just keep going from there, in that same period of time, shortly thereafter, I met Sibo at Wino Studio again. And that's the second major shift I can remember, to where I was able to work with Killer Tay, Brother Lynch, Sibo, and on a project with Tech Nine. They was on the Block Movement project, and I was on Killer Tay Snake Eyes. So from there, things just kept snowballing. You know, you meet one dude, you meet another nigga, you network, you grind, go in the studios. And I would think that the next big chunk in my story would be I encountered Suge Knight. And once I encountered Suge Knight, that led to me being what we would call signed without no paperwork for about 2 years to the Row, which was the Death Row reemergence after he came out of prison. I guess legally the name had to be changed, so he came to Row. And he tried to do that push, and I was able to work with people like Eddie Griffin, Lisa Left Eye Lopez, Crooked Eye, Corrupt, and Ray J. The list goes on, Miss Chalet. And that really added to my experience as an artist. And I got to see the game from a lot of different angles, hang out at the Staples Center all the time, was able to be in the skybox with Suge and watch Kobe and Shaq play quite often. And encountered tons of celebrities fucking with Suge, the Murder Inc. boys, was hanging out with Irv Gotti and Ja Rule in the club and in Suge Mansion in Vegas. And it got to a point with fucking with Suge to where, because the position that the industry had against him, it was pretty much obvious that anybody affiliated with him was having a hard time making progress. And I initially asked the person that was running the Death Row website, would they be kind enough to remove my likeness from the website? And John, shout out John Nitch, originally from LaGrange, Georgia. He's currently, I'm under the understanding that he is relocated to California. But John let me know he wasn't at liberty to remove anything off their website without somebody from the Death Row office giving him permission. So then that took upon a whole nother challenge, because I had to muster up the courage to tell Suge I didn't want to be on this website, which meant on your label or officially affiliated with you no more. And you know, because of Suge's reputation, you never really knew what to expect or how that was going to go. However, nonetheless, I approached Suge and was like, look, man, I think I need to come off that website. It's not really working in my favor to be affiliated with you officially like this. No love lost, my nigga, but I need to be trying to seek other opportunities. And you know, surprisingly enough, Suge was real cool about it. No hard feelings, I understand, much love. I wish I could do more. If I can do more before you get something better going, we'll revisit it. That was the end of it. I had no idea that very shortly I was gonna bump into G-Unit in the 50 Cent situation. I felt so refreshed when I did that I had found the courage to approach Suge and tie that knot before encountering this other opportunity. Because, you know, it's just ironic that Suge talked to me about 50 Cent and G-Unit quite a bit prior to me meeting them from a negative standpoint. So it was just real ironic for me to several ties with Suge, and then my very next opportunity that presented itself to me was somebody that we would consider on the opposite side of everything he was pushing. So, you know, you might be familiar, I'm sure, at that point, I actually did get a record deal and I signed to G Unit, was preparing an album, got quite a bit of exposure, being allowed to be photographed next to the other artists on the label. I got quite a few cameos in their videos. I was able to hype for them at their shows. I never was allowed the opportunity to perform any of my music at any of their venues. I was never allowed the opportunity to put out a record myself. There was never an open budget put out in the promotion toward me as an artist. But however, I did benefit for being affiliated with such a large situation in hip hop.
So when you signed with G Unit and you were taking pictures and not being able to perform your music, were you still getting paid?
Well, I received an advance, 6-figure in advance, and then the way under the guise of the situation, just being on tour was supposedly intern type shit, me getting acclimated to being out there. So since I wasn't actually performing my music, it was just presented to me as that the payment is just the experience and, you know, being able to be out here, room and board. But I had received an advance to the point where it's not like I was sitting around wondering when I'm gonna get some money.
Yeah.
So I had a nice amount of money, and I wasn't actually getting paid per appearance on the stage, no.
So it was kind of like, you know, we want you to get acclimated on how the touring scene is, and did they tell you up front, hey, we're not going to have you perform or play your music?
No, it wasn't even that type of situation. What it was once it was decided that I was in, 50 Cent was scheduled to go overseas for a month or better. And the person who I was initially in contact with was Young Buck. So he was going on tour for the Straight Outta Cashville tour. So I just left with him on his tour, and just as my partner, my homie, getting my feet wet with him, and it wasn't part of a big situation. However, Lloyd Banks had just released the album, so he was on tour. 50 Cent was constantly touring, and as it would be, every few weeks or every couple weeks or couple days, we would either meet Lloyd Banks in a town and do a joint show, or we'll meet Lloyd Banks and 50 Cent in another town and do either bigger venue. But if you can imagine, Lloyd Banks and Buck's tour used to cross a lot. So while we were out there with Buck and the Cashville homies, it'd be very often we would run into Lloyd Banks and the Queens homies. So that was like really the entourage that I was more familiar with. Them became the homies. Lloyd Banks homies and Buck homies became my homies. So, and my homies became they homies. So that was like the clique that really had formed beyond the actual label. The niggas that fuck with Buck, the niggas that fuck with Banks, and me and my niggas. So that was the more of the genuine, organic bond that we had created, because 50 was kind of bigger than just having niggas around. All these other niggas was his niggas. He was more of a larger figure that was more isolated from just having personal niggas around. Average nigga around 50 was doing something business-wise.
And so from there, you're with G Unit, you're touring. What's next?
I mean, initially it was just like, we're touring. Before I had got my deal, a couple of times I bumped into 50. He hit me with bread, you know, non-recoupable bread, just homie shit. I remember at one time he gave me three bands cash. Right before Christmas, he hit me with a 10 piece. So it was just real good, natural energy. So, you know, his initial spiel to me was, even though your turn is not going to be immediate, it's not going to be a big deal, because we're going to be building your celebrity all the while by allowing you to appear on any project that's going to be coming out before you. He didn't quite fulfill that commitment, because after the soundtrack, that was it. I watched quite a few productions come out without my participation. He just started making a lot of commitments that he just wasn't seeing through. When we were on tour overseas, during the time we shot the Window Shopper video, I remember us occupying approximately 3 or 4 double-decker high-end fancy tour buses while we were out there. And at one point, I believe 50 Cent was riding in the first bus in the entourage. I was riding in the last bus. I remember us stopping at a hotel, and this entourage, all between he and I, deboarding these buses. And I remember him getting my attention from the first bus all the way to the back bus, making it obvious to everybody with us that he wanted me to come. And we dipped off to the side and had a conversation where he explained to me that things changed A record of mine that was on the Get Rich or Die Get Rich or Die Trying soundtrack was going to be the third single, and he had the whole video planned out how he would like to see it. You know, the record was Things Change and was talking about coming up, so he had a whole little treatment planned out in his head how he envisioned me and my homies shooting dice in the hood. And then in the blink of an eye, although we're all in the same position in the alley shooting dice, those same dudes is in Vegas at the crap table shooting, and it's bigger money. We riding in like an old school down the street, doing certain motions. In the blinking of an eye, that old school is like a fancy foreign. And this was the vision he was giving me. It was big and exciting. I didn't ask for this, and he just offered it, told me these were his plans for the third single off the Get Rich or Die Trying soundtrack.
Yeah.
The third single ended up being Best Friend, he and Olivia. So these are the type of things I began to experience without any explanation. Just me trying to be active, proactive, and meet the obligation that one would think an artist would have to a label who invested in him. I came up with a record called Beautiful World. And I turned it in, shot a video, totally independent of the label or anyone affiliated with the label, in order to just, try to be proactive. At the same time I shot Beautiful World, I also starred in and shot a movie film starring myself, Master P, and Ernest Thomas, who was Raj from What's Happening. And I made him aware of that. 50 Cent expressed immense interest in not only purchasing the film, he told me that with the Beautiful World record, we would attach that to the film as like the first single off the soundtrack, and that would give me something to promote, travel around. He said he had a budget that he would invest in it. He told me that when he saw the video for Beautiful World that I shot totally independent of his assistance, that he was so impressed, it looked as if I spent $250,000 on the video. He called me, and I remember his exact words was like, "Yo, B, you got a joint, B." So this is the way I had pleased what he would desire of an artist, but you see what his follow-through was. There has never been a dollar spent in promoting the record, and I just thank the creator, not the homie, but the creator for blessing me with that experience, because it just shows what, an artist that's truly an artist with an organic production can do. It wasn't, you would think because of the success the record experience, you would think that the label had some type of participation, however they didn't. So it's just like, you get caught up in being happy about having an experience in a situation, and me not really ever being really laced on the business side of the game. I just got caught up in making decisions that weren't, best for my situation, business-wise, allowing things to go on longer perhaps that I should, not asking pertinent questions at the right time. And then it got to a point where Young Buck was finding himself at odds with 50 Cent. And if you can see, I got a G-Unit tattoo on my hand. Yeah. So my loyalty had lied beyond the initial relationship of my introduction. So there was a point where Young Buck was making it his business to go out and align himself with everyone 50 Cent didn't get along with. And no matter what his issues were with 50 Cent, I didn't respect that. That was like hoe shit to me. Yeah. So before I just deemed it hoe shit, when he tried to call me and invite me to participate in such activities, I initially tried to convince him that wasn't the best thing to do. Maybe he should reconsider what he was doing, but he was so passionate in his pursuit that was fruitless. And I remember when he was trying to convince me that I should go run off with Game and hang out with him and Rick Ross and all these people that 50 was beefing with, I finally told him I'm not doing it. I don't want to hear about it. And the nigga is acing the hoes to tell me, look, check this out, man. 50 Cent told me he wasn't going to put your album out a year ago. So I'm like, damn, a year ago? Whether that's true or not, it's like, my nigga, if you supposed to be my boy, how the fuck a year ago, my nigga, bottom line. So I didn't actually call him on the phone right there, but I took a very, very strong mental note that was the case. And I started analyzing the situation from that angle, and I started noticing a lot of things that weren't in my best interest. Looked up, 50 Cent then announced for the first time that he would be going live ever. And on This Is 50, it was a big thing. They had a big countdown on the site to where you make days ahead of time, be present, 11 a.m., this date, go live, 50 Cent and G-Unit. And live wasn't as far as common as it is now. Yeah. And when he finally decided to go live, as you know how it works, reading questions, he's reading the question, and he is so obviously disgusted at the fact that the top questions are about me and some of his other artists. Yeah. And he just gives this answer that is just so disrespectful, not only to the fans who took the time to be respectful to him and be interested, ask him questions, but also to myself and the other artists that he was supposed to be invested in promoting. He just lost his whole cool. And it just showed that his CEO status was actually not one that he earned by being a good CEO. And from the, things just unraveled to a point where it was just looking uninteresting. But I'm no longer affiliated with the label at all or the group. But if I have to look historically, there's never been a point where Curtis Jackson has expressed to me that our situation was over. So it was just me kind of like wondering what would happen next, if he was going to get it together, and then he never did. I remember at one point when he was going head up with Kanye West as far as release dates, I approached him and tried to get a conversation going about getting my momentum going. And it was comical to me because, especially when I look back now, he was trying to tell me to hold back because at this point, hip-hop was waiting on him to save hip-hop. And if his album at this time wasn't successful, hip-hop was over. And he just really said that with so much confidence, looked me in my eyes and said that. That shit was funny, cuz. Yeah.
What was, I'll wait till you get. Was the game, so the game had been gone at this point?
No, not initially. Game wasn't gone when I first got there. Game was there. And see, my relationship with that situation, me and Game was fucking around for quite some time before I met the G Unit dudes.
Yeah.
And I remember before he met them, he was frustrated with the situation, Aftermath in general, with Dr. Dre. But he was fucking with Baron Davis and D-Mac.
Yep.
And they had prior relationships with Puffy. So just me being around Game on a regular basis, I remember he used to come out his mouth a lot like, I don't give a fuck. If Dre drop me tomorrow, Puffy gonna sign me. That was like a ace in the hole he kept in his pocket back then based on the niggas he was fucking with had a relationship with Puffy. So then I remember I was in LA driving around and you hear 50 Cent and G Unit on the radio. And they like, we out here looking for the homie Game, open arms, inviting him to join G Unit. So I remember calling Game like, hey nigga, these niggas on the radio talking about come to G Unit, woo woo. I remember Game response was, man, fuck that. Nigga, I'm 50 Cent, nigga, I'm Eminem. You 50 Cent, you Eminem. Nigga, they just want me on the team so they could have the whole West Coast up. Like he was not interested. But then, however, a couple weeks later, boom, Game, G Unit, woo. And I remember being around him to the point where his energy had shifted. His sentiment went thin to that 50 Cent was the richest nigga in the rap game, and he was really happy about the way he was treating him and how his album got fixed real fast. And then without knowing the exact details, I remember his sentiment changing again to where, man, I just had put too much on it. Once I realized it was all business, it's better now. I ain't expecting too much out of them. So I don't know what it was, all the specific interactions that allowed him to go through those changes, but all this was prior to his first album dropping.
Yeah.
So me, meeting Game, rap battling, and then our relationship, you know, it continued on after us battling. I watched him, you know, do a lot of things as far as try to assist or promote other MCs. I've never made a request to him to include me in any of that. But however, one day I was over at the studio in Brazil and a dude named Dougie D from New York came through. I wasn't familiar with Dougie D, but I can tell that he had Life over there, Black Friday, I think Glasses was there, and he had a few other MCs that he was anxious for this nigga Dougie D to hear. So I'm just there on some homie shit. And I watched all these niggas rap for Dougie D, and he gave feedback, positive, woo, woo, woo. So without me saying nothing, I just started rapping. And the next thing I know, the nigga Dougie D was like, man, oh, you the West Coast Cool G rap? Like, oh, man, you dope. He made me go out in the car, sit in the car with him, he played me some Cool G rap. And from that point on, I started running around with Dougie D for some time. But that was the type of experience I had with Game when it came to music. It was separate. We met rapping, but it's even more ironic than that. I remember when that nigga, what niggas don't know, when he first got into it with Joe Budden and they was finna battle. I remember he called me, he was like, it's wartime, nigga, we gotta go to war, come on over here. Came to the studio, and I remember he was like, that's the first time I really can remember seeing somebody like write a lyric, record that one bar, and then come out the studio and let it play for a while, and record another bar. I never helped him write the lyrics. He did the whole that Compton song, that button. He did that shit, but he ended up doing it on his own. But prior to getting going and he was getting in the mood, he called a nigga over there. I didn't know what it was gonna turn into, a collab or not, but he ended up doing his own record or whatever. But that's how far back we was fucking around. So outside of that, he never tried to include me in no music shit. And I realized that one day he walked into a G-Unit room and I was sitting in that room without him expecting it or without him assisting me getting there. And rather him being pleased to see me there, I could tell it disturbed him. And it took, we went through a couple of incidents early on where I had to remind him, nigga, I wish you would act funny up in here, nigga, when I done got these out-of-town niggas to embrace me, nigga, and you supposed to be my nigga. And he tried to curb his attitude, but it was obvious he didn't appreciate the fact that I had arrived on a level that only he and our immediate circle had been on. He was he was still G-Unit though.
Yeah.
But every time I tried to approach him about my intentions of pursuing a career in G-Unit, he would try to downplay the G-Unit future, which looks kind of prophetic now, because he was like, man, that shit finna fall, man. You know, you can do it if you want to, but I'm finna drop my album and get on. He was like letting me know he was finna do all he did. But, you know, it was real in my life, you know, so I'm saying before he wasn't dissing, he wasn't beefing. If you really go back and do your history and your research, when he did first start dissing them niggas, he would include me in a record and say something positive about me while dissing them and try to let me and everybody else know I'm on everybody's head but Spider. But we was out here G-Unit banging, you know what I'm saying? So you can't G-Unite in my city if we G-Unit. So it was just a natural clash. He and I, through mutual acquaintances and just our own personal connection, tried to keep it separate for a while, try to be cool, but the shit just got too disrespectful. And then I don't know why I started talking about that. So.
Talking about the game, the incident where I think he was up in Beverly Hills at a hotel or something, and then allegedly,
I wasn't there, man.
You and
I've never taken an opportunity to clear the air because when I was in Hollywood and we had
you know what incident I'm talking about? Where
when the shit they say Wack and all them was out there,
and he called Wack
to save some. I wasn't there, my nigga.
Okay,
but for some reason Wack got it confused, or he places me there in history, and I frustrated 40 Glocc to death because he wants the credit for being that guy that was there, and he actually was, and I wasn't. But I would have been far more vocal in clarifying that point long ago, but 40 Glocc was very comfortable when we got into the incident in North Hollywood when we had Baby and Slim in them trucks. Shortly after, going live, doing interviews, myself and Big Payback, rest in peace, to just tell the truth. Like, Wayne wasn't in the truck. But there was so much of a general perception on the internet that he was in the truck. 40 Glocc used to be adamant about, I don't tell them that, cut. If they want to believe in the truck, cuz, let them believe in the truck, cuz. I don't know why you tell them the truth, cuz. Let them niggas do what they want to think. So I'm like, cuz, when it got down the line, when niggas thought that was me out there instead of him, I'm gonna let them think what they want to think, cuz. I ain't correct nothing. But now I've heard it so much, and I don't really want no credit for nothing I've done good.
Yeah.
I haven't done, good or bad. And it's been asked to me now on a platform like this. I don't know nothing about that shit.
Yeah.
I ain't into saving no niggas. You know what I'm saying? Especially back then, I would have loved for that scenario to play out like that. Nigga, you would have had a whole nother story, dead lokes. I'm a far more evolved individual these days, but we talking about historically, nigga, it would have got cracking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They said that's kind of how, and allegedly, Wack 100 became the game's manager down the road because supposedly
I heard there's some footage of Game being knocked out at the Fox Hill Mall that Wack is keeping sacred. I heard that.
It was that the one where he got knocked out by
Rose
Mo?
Mo, rest in peace. Laid him on his back, put him in convulsions and shit.
Let's go back to when 50 Cent was online. They were doing This Is 50. The guests of the show were asking about Spider and I think a couple other Hot Rod, yeah. You know, what's going on? And he kind of looked like he was.
What the fuck kind of questions is these? You motherfuckers don't even know how to ask good questions.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I saw that. I thought that was some real hating shit.
That's extremely hating. And then he went on further to say, I don't know where all this interest all of a sudden is coming for Spider Loc and Hot Rod. The fuck you mean? Regardless of why, nigga, this is what you up here asking about and this here. Then he went on to explain, neither one of them have any interest in music that's out. And interesting is such a subjective word. It's like, how do you decide that, bro?
Yeah.
But hey, I want to shout out Crayola for their latest development of the new color they added into their latest color, Beautiful. It's a big corporation that we all been influenced by since younger than his age, So I think Crayola would beg to differ with him a little bit.
Yeah. I agree. Did 50 Cent ever respond to you after you went? Because I remember, I think you went and responded after that.
Well, what happened was some years after that, Throwback Thursday is a tradition, social media, just me participating on my own little private personal page. It's not private, it's public, but it's nothing major. I just happened to have a Throwback Thursday post of the video when I realized 50 Cent was hating on me. And I added him, and I guess it irritated him to the point where he gave a response via his page. And, people screenshotted it, but they shout out Doggy Diamond. Doggy Diamond did a little piece on it exposing it. He subsequently took it down, but he was explaining that he wasn't hating on me in that video. Once again, insulting the viewer. Because he insulted the viewers that asked about me, first of all, told they didn't know how to ask good questions. And now anyone that can just open their eyes and see how obvious it is that he was hating, he's explaining to you all that you're stupid again, because he's not hating. He was only frustrated because I didn't deliver. When, like I tell you, he told me he had all the big plans for the Beautiful World. He was gonna make my record off the soundtrack, the third single. He also told Sal Martino, shout out to Sal Martino, the owner and the director of Parole Films, that he was gonna purchase the film. And he also, in '06, in studio sessions in Connecticut at the old Mike Tyson matches that turned into be his, he told me that my album was ready for the shelf, $16.99. I thought he meant this shelf purchase and not this shelf for collecting dust. But he was like very excited, $16.99, ready for the shelf. It was me, my nigga Puto, and Turtle there. Rest in peace. Turtle is dead and gone now. Love you, Loc. But Puto was there. Yeah, 50 know the Puto real well. And, he made that statement over and over again. He was very elated, excited by the fact that I had came to his house, had a few studio sessions, and I completed my record. And that was in '06. So for him to turn around and say I didn't deliver, motherfucking lie.
So you leave G Unit.
It's funny because I never got to leave G Unit. It's like how I was sharing with you earlier. As a man, it got to a point where it was time for me to part ways with Suge Knight, and it took courage for me to approach him and ask or allow him, to know that that was my interest. And I guess it would probably take the same amount of courage for 50 Cent to approach me and let me know that it was time to part ways, but he could never muster up enough courage to approach the Loc in such a fashion. So I never got the opportunity to leave G Unit. I guess G Unit's secret he left me. Like your bitch sneaking out going to fuck on you. You don't know she's sucking a gang of other dick. You know what I'm saying? You didn't know. She's still coming home, jumping in the bed when she got a headache. All he had to do was telling me it's time to break, you know what I'm saying? But he never had the courage to approach the Loc like that. So therefore, I never was aware of the fact that there was a departure from G Unit. The general public let me know I wasn't in G Unit by steady asking me, why the fuck, where you at? And then they started having all these reunions, which I started to realize perhaps were not the type of reunions I wanted to be a participant in, but it was shocking to see 50 Cent mend his obviously dysfunctional relationship with one such as Young Buck. And, that was just odd to me. After Young Buck said fuck G Unit and ran around and made it his business to associate with everybody that 50 Cent had a problem with, I didn't have no idea why he would want to hug him again. I was also just shocked to see everything they went with the game. And then through the years, they keep encountering each other at events and venues, and they hug and kiss and take pictures. That's odd to me. I don't understand that. I understand men feeling like they don't have to be ignorant about situations and being violent, but I also know that you don't, especially from the 50 Cent standpoint, I don't understand why you have to hug and kiss your enemy. That just doesn't make sense.
Do you find it, like I find it ironic that 50 Cent will attack Ja Rule, but he won't say nothing to you?
He know better. Shut the fuck up. He know better. He better not say shit, nigga. What he gonna say? I'm the truth. To debate with me or to challenge me would be to challenge the truth. He took the opportunity to say, oh, you didn't deliver. That was the wicked shit he could say. He mentioned, oh, I stopped giving out hits after the game. Oh, OT Genesis, it didn't work out with him. No, nigga, you failed him too. Oh, and then he had the big hit. What do these niggas got to do with what you did? What have you done for any artist other than myself after me, my nigga. He ain't did shit. So what can he say? I haven't said anything about him or toward him that is not 100% factual. He was on television. There was a Caucasian homosexual man who was interviewing him along with his co-host. He informed him that last time Vivica Fox was present on their show, she indicated that she thought 50 Cent was a homosexual himself. It called 50 Cent to say, oh no, because I let her have oral sex in my anal hole, she thinks I'm gay, which nobody asked him about those activities at all. They were just saying, hey, the lady alluded to the fact that she thinks there might be some things going on. And his explanation was, I love the way she orally has sex in my ass. So I'm not gonna, he told the gay guy, I promise I'll never do it again. So, you know, I included these type of things on my record. It's not my opinion on them. Yeah. He's on the intro doing these things. Also on the record, if you might be referring to some of the comments I make, but also the record Getting My Loc On kind of sums it all up, from him being comfortable putting out people like Floyd Mayweather's personal business in social media posts. We've become privy of some of his personal business, such as the big giant bumps he supposedly have on his genitals that he cannot get rid of, that he did not address. Somebody threw that mud ball at him. He usually throws mud balls back, but he did not deny that, you know, so I tend to think that that might be the case. Floyd named where he got it from. The nigga then, you know, 50, he's vocal in all points. So I figured he actually does have that genital issue, so I included that on the record. He was not vocal enough about separating or putting distance between himself and Buck Jenner when Buck Jenner got caught up in his fiasco, so I included that in the record, but it's not really much of my opinion or what I think about him. It's just me kind of like documenting and detailing some of the events we've all witnessed him go through. He did some of the most deplorable things you can do to a homie when we witnessed him on camera. Pick Tony Yayo up and body slam him into some motherfucking bushes. The whole world knows nobody more loyal to 50 Cent than Tony Yayo. What fun, what character, what integrity can you find in you picking up your boy and slamming him in the bushes like that? Where do they do that? And Tony, my nigga, how was you cool with that, cuz? You didn't want no fade? Like, Monster didn't whoop on him for you? I mean, like, what's happening, cuz? That's how y'all play?
So Tony didn't fight back?
I mean, we didn't see that part in the video.
Yeah.
You know? I never heard about him fighting back. Looked like 50 was having a bunch of fun. He had some, like a onesie on, and he was body slamming Tony Yayo in the bushes with a onesie on. Yeah.
So you also said and mentioned, I think it was on your Wake and Bake show, he used to have men rubbing him down.
Yeah, shout out Halim and Pretty Shy. It's not like I'm telling a secret.
Yeah.
This was done in the presence of groups of people on a continuous, consistent, regular basis. It used to shock me because not only were he have what we would consider romantic interests around a lot of the time, there were a handful of females around in the capacity of dancers, wardrobe, other jobs that could easily hook you up real quick. He had a ritual or a practice that every time he took stage, he would like his back tattoos to be shining when he hit the stage, and I guess his muscles as well. So I don't know if it was a special oil, regular oil, but right there in the dressing room, shortly before he took stage, every evening he would derobe, bareback, and Halim, my nigga, Pretty Shy, my nigga, they would take turns rotating, oiling, and making sure they covered the mass of his back all the way down to everything shining with their bare palm hand. It was such an event that whenever 50 Cent went around and we just sitting back with the rest of the crew talking shit, bagging, them niggas heard about it often. Yeah, you feel me?
That's fun. So you've been out, you had Politicking come out.
Politicking, the EP is available on all digital platforms right now. It was like my reintroduction into the game, 2018 early. I have been on a hiatus. Pretty much to describe the purpose behind the hiatus, I have two 10-year-old sons that are not twins and a 12-year-old son. So you kind of imagine what I've been filling up my time with in that time, building a foundation, trying to steer away from being so much of a Spider Loc in front of them. I had kind of got conflicted with who I was, to be honest, because now I've gave birth to these man seeds and my life is now an example. I have to live in a fashion to teach them things that I can't tell them. I can't tell them do as I say and not as I do. So I know the beginning lessons and some of the most important lessons that they were going to learn from me is what they saw. So I know they had to see 100% man minus the gangster shit. And, you know, occupationally wise, I just felt like it was time to get back to my job. And I am the loc, you feel me? That's why I went to tell you about back on my first records, I was just Spider.
Yeah.
Somehow, once I got the G Unit and the homies from New York overhearing me refer to myself as the Loc, maybe heard me even say Spider Loc, because even if my name was Dopey, I'm Dopey Loc, because I'm a Loc. I just looked up and them niggas put the Loc on the end of my name. I didn't really realize it had happened. Me, from just my personal mind frame, projecting from a child, I always knew that Loc was not marketable to the point where I ain't never, if you go even to my music, prior to G-Unit days, you find very few gangbang references.
Yeah.
What happened was I showed up to a video shoot one day and I was kind of C'd up. I had the Royal Rag, and 50 Cent made the comment like, that's it. He was like, that's the way they need to see you every time. He was like, that's what separates you from us. That give you a lane. So I kind of like fell into my wide receiver bag because he wanted to pay me to play wide receiver, although I was just as capable of being quarterback, safety, and defensive end.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna come here and say I gotta play all positions. When I got to a situation where it was teamwork, group, and we was trying to see what makes you applicable, you know, Belichick say, hey, I want you to throw the ball. I'm gonna throw the ball, my nigga.
Yeah.
I can catch it too, but I just decided that it was okay for me to fall into that G-Unit, gangster. I'll be the Crip, and that's what it was. But, you know, what actually defines me as an individual is so far beyond just the Cripping that I'm just excited about the opportunity to, you know, put some of that on display.
Wow. Well, I tell you, politicking, man, there's very few albums where I like more than 4 or 5 songs. Every song.
It's so humbling to hear you say that because
there,
in my general circle, I did not name it this, but shockingly, it's like we call it the no skipper. And even like my general fans and my wake and bake, the core audience.
Yep.
Like it's like without saying, you know, you might tell me another project, I like all those songs, but it's like a common way to describe that one is like the no skipper, like every song.
Yeah.
Shout out G5. Did a heavy bulk of the production. It's the young homie. I got to give it up for Chill from CMW. He did some production on there. I don't want to forget nobody because it wasn't many. Who else we slumped the beat from on there? Shout out Dash Dillinger. Shout out Fig Newton for being on that thing. Shout out P Smurf. Not P Smurf. Shout out P Smurf, but Pipe Snipe. They all on there. It's a pretty. I'm proud of politicking because it's not my typical beat selection. Shout out Slim 400 and Compton AD, goddamn, and the Outlaws. They on that thing. Silent J did some production on that thing too, and the beats they were more of a contemporary sound that I knew was a contemporary sound. So when I started collecting tracks to record on, all the tracks I got were not in that sound. So I just kind of like took those to the side and said, I'm gonna do these first and do a project that sounds like this. Yeah. So we knocked that out. And we have tons of more records coming. They're not necessarily in that pocket, but I'm glad we got off with the politicking first. It's been successful. I like the way it's being received. We got a video for shout out to homie T4, because we popping his last video we shot, and that's gonna be dropping real soon. Shout out K9 to Boston C-Heck, because we activists on politicking and they on that record. Really enjoyed that.
My man Jason back here, he's a Santa Ana native, K9.
Okay, so you already know. Shout out BH. Shout out, that's my Loc too, cuz.
Yeah, man, I love that album. I mean, you look at my iTunes, I mean, I bumped that album.
Appreciate it.
I think my favorite track on, 2 of them, I like Demonstrations with, and we got Fig Newton, he's coming by today too.
Oh, that's right, shout out to homie Fig and Pipe on the Demonstrations though.
Yeah.
And he wet that thing, Fig did that.
Oh man, it's.
That nigga say burner on my hip, never in the whip. Real gang bangers know the manuscript. Got my eye on the homies, and I watch the Crips. Heavy on my tip, because niggas be pushing politics. That shit hard. Yeah.
Oh, man, I love that album. And, you know, so that's one that...
I kind of appreciate, like, we saw the politics that Fig and Daz went through shortly after Politic dropped. I just feel like a conduit. The fact that they both was on my project shortly before that, and it was some politics. The name of the CD is Politicking.
Yeah.
These niggas never really had no interaction prior to that.
Yeah.
They get on my shit together, not fucking with each other, but they on my project, and then they had to politic before the world. So it just, that was interesting to me.
Yeah, it was. We actually interviewed Daz like right after that.
I saw that.
And Bosco, and it was some good interviews. So let's talk about Young Buck a little bit. I saw you commented on, I guess
Back shots, what it do, Loc? That neighborhood life.
I guess there was some video out there, and he addressed it. And
shame on him. That's where he fucked up.
Yeah.
In this day and age, had he not addressed that video, people want to believe in you so bad. So many tricks that's going on with the camera, Photoshop, and all that. Not addressing it would have been his best bet. The way I came about it was I was just minding my business, doing something similar to what I'm doing, twiddling my thumbs, and sliding down my IG, somebody added me on something. So I just go to check it, and it was the video of Young Buck in the truck. Tomorrow, check this out. I know Buck very well. I knew something was up right then. I'm like, cuz did something. What is he talking about? He guilty of something. I didn't know what it was about. So whoever added me, I added them back like, who he talking about? And then they added me on Cook Up Boss page. So I was able to go and get an idea what was really going on. So, I made it my business to just repost anything on the subject. Once I seen the air of truth to it, I'm finna go with it. So I'm reposting it, and it unfolded before my eyes, just like y'all. So, it was quite hilarious to find out that Young Buck like boys, not even taking this opportunity to say anything negative about anybody that likes boys. It's just funny to find out that David Brown likes boys.
Let me ask you this though: Do you think he gets a pass? Like
no pass,
because there's all these.
No pass.
Well,
I don't give
no
a fuck
pass.
what you finna say as a why. No pass, but go ahead.
But he's thinking it's a true female.
No, he never said that.
Oh, okay.
You're like interjecting. That's why I say, if he had not responded, there's so many people that want to believe that, he perhaps would have been okay.
Yeah.
But because it's so true, he felt like he had to meet it with some type of defense. And then look what transpired. All the phone calls and the pleading.
Yeah.
You talk tough to Cook Up Boss, but you talk to him like a bull. I think with that voice, he keeps forgetting he's talking to a boy.
Yeah.
He forgets. Why you don't want to fight that boy?
Yeah.
That blows my mind. That's a boy, Buck.
Yeah.
I remember the punk told Buck, I don't trust you. That nigga said, how could you not? My nigga, that said it all. I don't need to hear it no more. Y'all in love.
Yeah.
Because if you tell a female, the female tell you, I don't trust you, and you say, how could you not? That means we done been through some shit. I done showed you some shit. I done proved to you that I'm down for you. That was his response. He was like shocked, like, how could you not? Yo, bad Buck.
So you think he's gonna recover from that?
I know the hotel room probably stank. I know that motherfucker stank. They both look stanky. Y'all look stanky. That do not look like no good sex, my nigga. Shame on you, boy.
Yeah, you think he's still gonna be able to sell albums?
I mean, yeah, of
records?
course. You seen Love and Hip Hop lately?
My wife watches. I don't.
Okay, are you familiar with the
Yes.
cat? Yeah, he'll be all right.
Yeah.
I think he'll be faster to a bag if he go ahead and embrace it. You got caught with your hand in the cookie jar. What you mean you don't like cookies, nigga? I seen you.
You think the world would appreciate him more
Most definitely.
If he came out and just said this is who
Most
I am?
definitely. Who wants to be lied to? We saw you on camera. Now you finna tell us, we ain't see what we see.
Yeah.
It's like 50 saying he wasn't hating.
Yeah.
The fuck you mean? I'm seeing this is the definition of hating. I don't believe hip hop has a better example of one person on camera hating on another without a reason better than that right there. I'm your artist, boy.
Yeah.
Show me somebody else hating on somebody else unwarranted. Worse than that.
Yeah. Going to 40 Glocc, you were on Instagram, and I think he
marked out.
He called you on the live, and you were talking. You kind of caught him off guard, and and I like I was telling you before we got on the interview, like I kind of had the same view. If I'm rocking with you, Spider, your enemies, my enemies. That's kind of how I'm a lot. I'm your age, so that's kind of how I was brought up. and he kind of addressed it as if like, I don't know, I didn't see that.
I've been seen through 40 Glocc on that level. When we first got to fucking around, he was in a studio session and he was going live. And I was in a studio session in the Blue Room with me and my niggas, and we was watching his live. And while we weren't watching, the homies were watching. And they brought it to my attention that Badass was in the studio session with 40 Glocc, and he was dissing me. Somebody typed in, "What up with you and Spider?" And he was in the studio session talking bad about me right there next to 40. So when I get at 40 about it, "Oh, cuz, you crazy, cuz." Neutral. It's been neutral ever since. The way we got caught up on camera with that the Baby and Slim shit together, like we was in unison, it wasn't he and I. He got caught up in a whole wave of a whole gang of niggas that showed up in my studio, and he just tried to run with that shit and turn it into his play. I don't know if you're familiar with kite phones. KYTE. It was the first device that was mobile where you can go live to the internet while you out moving around. He had one of those, and he took it with him over there. So everything that took place was happening in real time, being broadcast to the internet. So he tried to run off with it. But that's the only time you'll ever see where we looked like we was on the same side of a beef issue. Because he happened to stumble up on a move that was already in motion. And then he ran big with it and attached himself to it big, but that was my move. Other than that, ever since I seen how he was willing to be in a room with a nigga dissing me, I ain't give a fuck what he went through with nobody.
Yeah.
You feel me? I'm the one. I was his legal advisor that advised him to sue. And it was kind of like, chill right there, shorty, told you I got you. You're like, yeah, go ahead and sue him. Go ahead, do that. And he did it, dummy.
Like, in your opinion, with 40 Glocc, I mean, because I saw he fell out with a couple of the big homies, or one of his big homies from his neighborhood. So what, I mean, is he well respected out there amongst, as a West Coast artist, being...
Not at all. I hate to say it, and I'm not no hater though, but if you just look at documentation for the last 5, 6 years or even beyond, I am the single one and only rap artist that was willing to be vocal saying anything, period, positive about 40 Glocc, period. I don't know nobody else that has anything respectful to say about him. And, I could be wrong. It might be somebody I'm missing or an opinion that we haven't heard.
Yeah.
But if I go and just try to be as honest as possible, I felt like in hip-hop, I had become his only friend.
Yeah.
I thought he would honor that enough at least to keep it real.
Yeah. Yeah.
I come from an environment of gangbanging. And, it's the busters and the G's make the hood go around. You know how many busters I got from my hood, been from the hood for 20 years. So people used to always question me, why you still rocking with 40 after this, after that? He was the homie. You don't boo the nigga just because he becomes inadequate on one play or another play. But eventually, when the nigga show the whole world he's willing to lie on behalf of a nigga who ain't really did nothing for him.
Yeah.
And we lokes though, cuz, like, where your loyalty lie? That Crip like, homie.
Tell us about the Wheel of Fortune experience.
Wheel of Fortune, man. One of my very favorite television shows all my life. Actually, Hangman is like one of my favorite games. Even in elementary school, junior high, always coming up, word searches. I just always had a passion for him. If a teacher passed out a paper and told us we had a time word search, I don't know if anybody else's heart in the room was beating like mine, trying to be finished first, trying to find the words. And I've always had like a passion. If I'm driving through the city and I look and I see a sign say Home Depot, my brain immediately sees the H in home, the T in depot, then the O next to the H, and it sees the E next to the T and try to make a word out of that. It just rearranges, just does it automatically. So through the years, Wheel of Fortune being a show based on words and word structure and all that, it's been one of my favorites on accident. I remember being in prison. Shout out Showdown from 6'8". He was my cellie. And I remember it was a time we used to be in the cell, Wheel of Fortune to be on. And some of the larger puzzles I would solve with very little pieces showing, to the point where he'd be like, cuz, it's a rerun. I know you've seen this shit before. So it was always something I wanted to do. I remember almost 15 years ago, female friend of mine, because she realized how much I liked the show, watching it on a regular basis. I remember she sent in a postcard for me to get on the show. We never got no feedback. And here it was 15 years later. This time the application process was email. Fuck it, sent an email. This time feedback came right back. Went to the came out here to Sony studio, close to the Sony studios, to a hotel similar to this, to do the audition. Went on the show, did my stuff, my nigga, fucking with Pat. Not only after I solved one puzzle did Pat Sajak tell me I made it look easy, not knowing that I was pursuing a career in media, he called me babyface after I solved the second puzzle. And then toward the end of the show, as he was wrapping up the show, he told the whole world that if the way I played Wheel of Fortune was the way to play it. So him not knowing that being my favorite show, him not knowing that I'm attempting to rely on my appearance for my income such as himself, he really gave me endorsement by calling me babyface and then telling the world the way I played the game was the way to play the game. It made my experience there all worthwhile, even though I had a real big bag of money. I dropped them all the way out the door. So close. But yeah, I appreciated that experience going on Wheel of Fortune more than a lot of experiences I've ever had. Making 6,500 in 22 minutes was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. My competition was a retired college math professor. And I can't quite remember what this lady did, but she was professional as well. And for me to outperform the both of them was like, I appreciated that.
Wow, wow. Let me ask you this. If there's one person you could work with today, alive, that you haven't on the music stuff, who would that be?
Dr. Dre.
Have you met Dr. Dre before?
I've never met him. Shout out Robin Petgrave, shout out Dr. Dre, tomorrow's Aeronautical Museum. You know, possibilities are endless, man. You know, the way the universe works, who knows, you know. Well, yeah, Dr. Dre would just be the first name off my top of my tongue.
All right. And what's the future hold for Spider Loc?
2019, the Illiterate Project in a collaboration with Cleopatra Records will be dropping early. Shout out Brian Piera and Omar the Iceman at Cleopatra, man. I appreciate the opportunity. The partnership and the bag they put up. Shout out E40 and Angela Mazzotti on my first single, Think I Love. And not only that, we got The Council, a film we just wrapping up with the Rider for Life Film Company. Pretty excited about that. I got a record with Eastwood. Shout out East the Beast called Block Sheep. We just finished the EP. We 10 records in. We trying to decide whether we gonna do between 7 and 10 records. So that's going to be coming out early 2019. And we just going to stay active, man. Do a whole lot of what we've been doing, try to do it more consistently, efficiently, and just enjoy life.
Right on, right on. Well, we appreciate you, Spider, coming by, you know, spending your time.
I appreciate the invite, man. I've been checking out your platform. I appreciate the way you deliver your content. I like the way it's structured, and I just appreciate being included. I see the type of caliber talent that you like to bring through, and it's an honor to be included, man. I appreciate it. Also, we're working on a Bottom Line podcast coming soon about the Black Box. So right. Tap into that. Spider Loc Most Easty on all social media platforms is the prefix.
Right on. Well, thanks, Spider Loc.
Thank you. You already know it's Spider Loco, the Most Easty, and you are now watching Urban City TV.